Today we're in Chicago at the Booth School of Business, University of Chicago. We're here to speak to Professor Richard Thaler, who is the Professor of Economics and Behavioural Science. Many call him the father of behavioural economics, a science that incorporates psychology with economics. He's the author of Nudge, Improving Decisions in Health, Wealth and Happiness. Today we're speaking with Professor Richard Thaler, who is the Professor of Economics and Behavioural Science at the Booth School of Business, University of Chicago. Professor Thaler, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Very nice to be here.
Professor Thaler, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
My pleasure.
You've written a book called Nudge. Can you explain to myself and the audience what is a nudge?
So, well, we know what the word means. It means a gentle, helpful push in a certain direction. And the idea of the book is that in many situations where people have complicated decisions that they have to make, we can help them make better decisions, not by telling them what they must do, but by gently nudging them in a helpful direction.
And you think with these nudges that people will make better decisions?
Well, of course, we can nudge for good or nudge for evil. There's a firm whose name I won't mention. I don't know whether you have them down under, but they make, here in the US, they make sinfully delicious and fattening cinnamon buns. And their nudge is to pipe the aromas out into the hall. You often find these in airports. And it's like the Pied Piper. You smell that and you're immediately drawn into their store and you buy one of their 900-calorie cinnamon buns. So marketers have known about nudging for a long time. And what we're trying to do is teach people on the good side some of the same tricks that marketers have used so that we can nudge people for good.
And similar, I suppose, like health professionals. So how can we use this theory, nudging, to get our message about health across?
Well, you know, part of the lesson, in some ways, the basic lesson of nudge is that if you want to help people do something or nudge people to do something, the simplest way is to make it easier. So, one example is we're here talking in the Booth School of Business at the University of Chicago. The faculty offices in our building are located on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors. There are open stairwells that connect those with a big skylight above them. And when faculty members, I'm on the 4th floor, if I want to visit someone on the 5th floor or the 3rd floor, those stairwells are very inviting. And so I tend to walk. Well, that's healthier than getting in the elevator.
Great.
And one of the themes of our book is what we call choice architecture. And the idea is that the person who designs the environment in which we choose is much like the architect of a building. So in the case of the stairs, the actual architect acted as choice architect and designed an environment in which we see each other more often and get slightly more exercise. Now, in the health domain, the example we actually used to start the book is about a hypothetical cafeteria, where the director of the cafeteria learns that the order in which the food is displayed influences what the kids eat, if it's the school cafeteria. So then she starts to wonder, okay, now that she knows that, how should she arrange the food? So in this case, she's the choice architect. Yeah. And the most important point we make in the book is you must choose something. So the food will be arranged in some order. It's impossible not to nudge. So given that she has to arrange the food in some order, we say, why not make it somewhat more likely that the kids will eat the fruit rather than the sweets?
So you think by being a choice architect, we can make things easier for people to make better choices rather than focusing on education? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it often works better. And both in financial education and health education, you know, people get bored easily, they're forgetful. So take an example of a very important problem in healthcare, which is drug compliance. Now, think about the design of the medicine. The best medicine would be one that the doctor would give you a shot and it would last for the rest of your life. There would be no compliance issues.
Yes.
But unfortunately, that's not usually possible. If it's a pill you have to take, the best arrangement is a pill that you take once a day in the morning, because that's the easiest to remember. Now, suppose it was a pill you would have to take every other day. That would be hopeless. Who could remember that, right? So this is an example of make it easy. And, you know, you could teach people forever to take their pills every other day. It would never work. So I think there are lots of opportunities to use modern technology. We can send people text messages reminding them to take their medicine or test their blood sugar. We can reward them when they do. And so I think there are lots of ways to use these ideas in the field of health.
And can you talk a little bit more about reward? Does that influence people's behaviour as much as, you know, does it influence people's behaviour in health, do you think? Oh,
sure. And, you know, the rewards don't have to be very big. So one interesting thing we've learned is people respond very well to lotteries. And we know that, you know, suppose you gave people a chance to win one of these Wii video games, which you can actually use to as a health fitness device. The chance to win one of those, suppose there are 200 people and we give them each one chance to win and the game costs $200. Well, the chance to win is going to be more powerful than a dollar. So, you know, another interesting thing is just making things fun can help. There's a very nice video, and actually maybe you can get this video and maybe you can show it in the background. So there's a very nice video. There's something called the Fun Project. And they show a stairwell going into I think a subway in Stockholm. And there's an escalator and the stairs. And everybody's taking the escalator. And they're figuring, how can we get people to walk on the stairs? And they take the stairs and they make it into a piano, so that when people walk up and down the stairs, they make music. And pretty soon everybody's walking on the stairs instead of taking the escalator. So making things fun is a great way of nudging people.
Great. And in your book you describe a term, you coined a term, libertarian, start again, sorry. In your book you coined a term, Can
we get a new interviewer here? I mean, libertarian paternalism.
In your book, In your book, you coined a term, libertarian paternalism. Can you please describe for me a little bit about that?
Yes, well, the term, of course, sounds a little funny, and it's a bit of a mouthful, but by libertarian, we mean trying to maintain people's right to choose. By paternalism, we mean helping people make better choices as judged by themselves. So most of us would like to be healthier. Most of us would like to lose a little weight, exercise a little more. We don't quite get around to it. So if we design an environment where people find it easier and more fun to get some exercise and eat in a healthy way, then we'll help people achieve those goals without taking away any of their options. So if we make the salad and the fruit more salient in the lunchroom, that still allows people to go for the burgers or the pizza if they want to, but we're nudging them by making it more available and more accessible, and if we nudge them, they'll do something that they really wanted to do anyway.
Great. And do you think governments can do this as well?
Yes, there's actually lots of interest in applying these ideas in government. My co-author, Cass Sunstein, has actually been hired by his old friend, President Obama. President Obama used to teach at this university.
Oh, wow.
And in the law school. And he hired his old friend, Cass, to be what in the media they call him the regulation czar. And I call him the nudger-in-chief. So his job is, in part, to implement these ideas all across government. So there have already been some things done. Here's a simple example. The Obama administration has announced that starting next year, all large companies will have to announce their carbon emissions. Now, this is a first step toward a carbon tax or cap and trade or the like. But in the interim, we know from past research that simply having people announce what they're doing will create some peer pressure. And I think the same ideas can be used in healthcare. I was just talking to a group of human resource people, and they were telling me that one employer was saying that they were trying to get their employees to engage in more healthy behavior, and then they found that the employees on their own were starting weight loss contests, and that was more effective than anything the employer was doing. So those contests work in part because people start competing with one another as to who's going to lose the most weight, and that can be a very effective way of nudging.
Great. Professor Thaler, thank you so much for your interview and for your contribution.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We've just been speaking to Professor Richard Thaler, author of the book Nudge. Professor Thaler, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
My pleasure.